The year was 1897. The Benin Kingdom, a beacon of art and culture in West Africa, faced a grave threat. The British, hungry for palm oil and power, had set their sights on the kingdom. Standing as a bulwark against this encroaching tide was General Asoro, a man of unwavering loyalty and unmatched courage. He was the sword-bearer to Oba Ovonramwen, the revered king of Benin. Asoro's name resonated through the kingdom, a testament to his strength and unwavering dedication to his people. Asoro, as Asoro. Asoro was more than just a warrior. He was a symbol of Benin's indomitable spirit. His courage inspired the hearts of men, and his loyalty to the Oba was absolute. The fate of the kingdom rested on his shoulders, and he bore the weight with the grace and strength of a true leader. The very air crackled with anticipation, a silent storm gathering on the horizon, threatening to engulf the kingdom in a maelstrom of conflict. Asoro was a powerful warrior, renowned for his skill in battle. His reputation spread far and wide, and tales of his bravery were told in hushed tones around campfires. He was not just a fighter, he was a legend in the making, a beacon of hope for his people. He was a master swordsman, his every move both swift and deadly. Each swing of his blade was precise, a dance of death that left his enemies in awe and fear. His training was rigorous, his dedication unparalleled, and his prowess unmatched. But more importantly, he was a man of principle, deeply devoted to his king and his kingdom. His loyalty was unwavering, and his sense of duty was ingrained in his very being. He believed in the values of honor, courage, and sacrifice, and he lived by them every day. He held the sacred position of sword-bearer to the Oba, a testament to the trust placed in him. This role was a symbol of his unbreakable bond with the king, a bond forged in the fires of loyalty and respect. The sword he carried was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of his commitment to protect and serve. This role was not just ceremonial, it was a position of great honor and responsibility, one that Asoro took very seriously. He understood the weight of his duty, the expectations placed upon him, and he embraced them with a solemn heart. His dedication was evident in every action, every decision he made. One day, the Oba bestowed upon Asoro a most critical task, to guard the Sakpomba Road, the main entry point into Benin City. This was no ordinary assignment. It was a mission of utmost importance, a task that required not just strength but also wisdom and vigilance. The British were advancing, and the Oba, guided by his ancestors, had declared that no foreigner should set foot in the city during the sacred Igwe festival. This decree was a protective measure, a way to preserve the sanctity and peace of the festival, and it was Asoro's duty to enforce it. Looking upon the Oba with unwavering loyalty, Asoro spoke, his voice echoing with resolve. No other person should pass this road except the Oba. His words were not just a statement, they were a declaration of his commitment, a promise to his king and his people. His words were a vow, a promise etched in stone. Asoro's determination was clear, his resolve unshakable. He was ready to face any challenge, to stand against any foe, to protect his city and his king with his life. This was his duty, his honor, his destiny. The British, however, were not known for their respect for local customs or traditions. Their arrival in foreign lands often heralded a period of upheaval and disruption as they imposed their own values and systems upon the indigenous populations. They saw the richness of Benin, the intricate bronze castings, the vibrant culture, and they craved it. The artistry and craftsmanship of the Benin people were unparalleled, and the British were eager to claim these treasures for themselves, viewing them as trophies of their conquests. Their greed blinded them to the sanctity of the Igwe festival, a time of purification and renewal for the people of Benin. This festival was not merely a cultural event, but a deeply spiritual occasion, integral to the identity and continuity of the Benin kingdom. They disregarded the warnings, fueled by their arrogance and a sense of imperial entitlement. The British officials, convinced of their own superiority, saw no reason to heed the advice or concerns of the local people, whom they deemed inferior. They believed themselves to be superior, their ways the only civilized ways. This belief in their own cultural and moral superiority justified, in their minds, the subjugation and exploitation of other peoples and their lands. James Phillips, as James Phillips. A contingent of British officials, led by Acting Consul General James Phillips, approached Benin City in January 1897. Their mission, under the guise of diplomacy, was in reality a pretext for furthering British colonial interests. Unaware of the significance of the Igwe festival, or perhaps willfully ignoring it, they sought to enter the city. The timing of their approach was not coincidental, but rather a calculated move to catch the Benin people off guard during a period of religious observance. They underestimated the resolve of the Benin people and the strength of their beliefs. The Benin kingdom, with its rich history and strong cultural identity, was not easily intimidated or subdued. Phillips, blinded by his imperial ambitions, had dismissed the warnings of messengers sent by the Oba, urging him to delay his visit. These messengers, aware of the potential for conflict, had tried to prevent a confrontation that could lead to bloodshed. This disregard for Benin's customs was a grave miscalculation. The British officials, in their hubris, failed to recognize the depth of the Benin people's connection to their traditions and the lengths to which they would go to defend their sovereignty and way of life. The consequences of this intrusion would be severe and far-reaching, setting the stage for a tragic and violent clash between two vastly different worlds. As the British approached Sakponba Road, they were met by a sight that stopped them in their tracks. Standing there, a lone figure of defiance, was Asoro. His silhouette was stark against the setting sun, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch out and touch the very feet of the advancing soldiers. He was clad in traditional garb, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword. The intricate patterns on his attire spoke of a rich cultural heritage, one that was now under threat from the encroaching forces. His eyes, filled with a fire that spoke of his unwavering resolve, met the gaze of the British, daring them to take another step. Those eyes were not just filled with defiance, but with the weight of generations, the hopes and dreams of his people. The air crackled with tension, the silence broken only by the rustling of leaves and the distant drumming from the city. It was as if the very land itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would unfold in this pivotal moment. James Phillips, as James Phillips? Phillips, taken aback by Asoro's audacity, ordered him to step aside. His voice, though authoritative, carried a hint of uncertainty, as if he knew that this was no ordinary confrontation. "The white man comes in peace," he declared, his voice dripping with false sincerity. It was a statement that had been heard many times before, a prelude to conquest and subjugation. Asoro, as Asoro. Asoro stood firm, his voice ringing out, strong and unwavering. "This is a sacred time, a time of our ancestors. No foreigner may enter." His words were not just a declaration, but a proclamation of his people's right to their land and their traditions. His words were a challenge, a refusal to bow to the might of the British Empire. They echoed through the air, a stark reminder that not all would be easily subdued. The clash was inevitable, a testament to the clash of cultures, of imperialism versus tradition. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations, a symbol of resistance and the enduring spirit of a people determined to protect their heritage. The scene was not just a confrontation, but a vivid illustration of the broader struggle between two vastly different worlds, each unwilling to yield to the other.